I mean, just think about it, you guys. President Trump had 4 years to prepare his tariff strategy, right? 4 years to watch what's really happening and see exactly what's wrong with the U.S. and our position in the global market. Don't think he wasn't taking notes and names. And as the president said, Canada and Mexico have no room left for talks to avoid a new 25% tariff. Plus, of course, the new 20% tariff on Chinese goods. Now, as Trump explained, vast amounts of fentanyl have poured into our country from Mexico and also from China, where it goes to Mexico and goes to Canada. In fact, the CDC found that China is the primary producer of the fentanyl that killed at least 279,000 Americans over the last 4 years. So yeah, these Trump tariffs, they are set to finally address the opioid crisis that's facing America. But not just that, guys. They're also a big part of the president's plan to make America great again. He mentioned on Truth Social that tariffs on external agricultural products will be imposed early April. And he said to the great farmers of the United States, get ready to start making a lot of agricultural products to be sold inside the United States. Tariffs will go on external products on April 2nd. Have fun. So you see, the point is to get all that production back into the U.S., meaning cheaper goods and hopefully more jobs for Americans. Now, like I said, guys, Trump is really the man with the plan, and let's hope that everything works out for everybody, right? In fact, Canadian President Justin Trudeau and China have both responded to the impending Trump tariffs. And let me tell you guys, they sounded kind of scared. Bob Ray, Canada's permanent ambassador to the United Nations, he even tried scaring us a little bit by saying that we'll, according to him, lose prosperity with these Trump tariffs. Well, we'll just see who exactly is going to be losing prosperity once these tariffs are in place. You know what I mean? Because President Trump, he's laser focused on getting this country back on track. And you can just feel the difference between the previous administration and the previous president. While Trump has been getting our neighbors in line, a new House report found that the Biden administration nearly quadrupled the number of immigrants protected from deportation by a controversial decades-old immigration program. They called it temporary protected status under, and the House Judiciary Committee is taking a look at this and its use, and to a further extent, its abuse. So definitely stay tuned on this, guys. Also, if you appreciate the daily news updates, please take a second, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel. All right, guys. So here it is. President Trump confirming the 25% tariffs. Check this out.
But that one day, so we're going April 2nd. But very importantly, tomorrow tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs. In other words, you build, and this is exactly what Mr. Wei is doing, by building here. Otherwise, they'll build, if they did them in Taiwan to send them here, they'll have 25% or 30% or 50% or whatever the number may be someday. It'll go only up. But by doing it here, he has no tariff, so he's way ahead of the game. And I would just say this to people in Canada or Mexico, if they're going to build car plants, the people that are doing them are much better off building here, because we have the market. We're the market where they sell the most. And so I think it's going to be very exciting for the automobile companies, very exciting for, I can think of any, as an example, North Carolina, they had the great, I used to go there to buy furniture for hotels. And it's been wiped out. That business all went to other countries. And now it's all going to come back into North Carolina, the furniture manufacturing business, please.
Now, what can I say except for finally, right? Like, we actually have a real president, somebody who really means what he says. Isn't it just unbelievable just how fast progress can be made in this great country of ours when we have real leaders steering the ship? And like President Trump said at the White House, no room left for Mexico or for Canada, and all that tariffs, including 20% on Chinese-made goods, will go into effect. And considering that China, Mexico, and Canada are America's top 3 sources of imports and collectively send almost half of all goods that flow into the United States, there are definitely going to be some bumps in consumer costs. Let's keep it real, guys. There's also been a lot of uncertainty on Wall Street as well, as all 3 major U.S. stock indices spiraled downward following the president's announcement, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average diving about 650 points, a drop of 1.5%, and the NASDAQ shedding more than 2.6% of its total, nearly 500 points. But remember, guys, President Trump even gave these countries a month to fix this. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, they tried reassuring the president that they would crack down on illegal immigration and fentanyl smuggling. But Trump was still not satisfied with the progress on stopping fentanyl. This is a substance that can kill even in a small dose. And it already has 279,000 Americans over the last 4 years, according to CDC data. So in those 4 years, under the Biden administration, fentanyl from these countries wiped out nearly 0.1% of America's population over that period just by being sprinkled into a wide range of illegal drugs and counterfeit prescriptions. So yeah, there is definitely the deterrent side of these tariffs, but also an America First production side too. Because see, when you look them over even closer, the president has actually enacted stiffer new tariffs on steel and aluminum, according to him, part of the beginning of making America rich again. Now, he also hinted at some looming action on copper, lumber, pharmaceuticals, and computer chips. Then, of course, there are the agricultural tariffs that are set for April 2nd, probably connected to his reciprocal levies on other countries, including European allies and Japan. Now, as for the inflation worries that people may have, don't believe mainstream media all that easily, you guys. The president himself said and pointed out that the low rates of increase in consumer costs during his first term trade standoffs, particularly with China. Now, as for Canadian and Mexican imports, Trump said, we don't need the products that they have. Sure, there could be some temporary short-term disruption, but people can understand that, according to the president. Well, really, guys, we've really got to get this fentanyl crisis under control. Even though the monthly number of U.S. deaths has been declining since Chinese President Xi Jinping agreed to do more to restrict exports, the compound still killed more than 55,000 Americans on the most recent full year of CDC data. That's roughly equivalent to the number of U.S. deaths in the Vietnam War. In fact, the powerful synthetic opioid was the leading cause of death for Americans between the age of 18 and 45 years old, peaking with an estimated 76,282 deaths in 2023. You know what the fentanyl coincided with? It was the same year that the largest ever number of migrant border crossings into the country, with nearly 250,000 apprehended trying to enter in December 2023 alone. In fiscal year 2024, border agents seized more than 21,000 pounds of fentanyl coming from Mexico, enough to kill 4.8 billion people. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below. So now companies are just going to have to go ahead and build their car plants and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs, according to the president. I mean, just imagine the production boom that we're going to see in the next few years under this administration. And by the way, guys, isn't it just crazy how he's getting all this done in just like 2 months of being at the White House? It just feels like we're going to go through 4 years worth of winning with our president, doesn't it, guys? Drop a quick yes in the comments down below and hit the like button to show your support. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on all notification for more content like this. All right. Okay. So here's Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and China trying to sound tough as they struggle to respond to President Trump's tariffs. Watch.
We will continue to work to ensure, to do everything we can to make sure that there are no tariffs on Tuesday. But if ever there were tariffs on Tuesday, as we have all seen, as we were ready to do last time, we will have a strong, unequivocal, and proportional response as Canadians expect.
Trudeau said the data showed that very little fentanyl had ever entered the US via Canada, with quantities now even further reduced. Meanwhile, Chinese state media reports say Beijing will target US farm goods when it sets out countermeasures to any new tariffs on its exports.
So Canada's permanent ambassador to the United Nations also tried scaring people about Trump's tariffs on MSNBC. He basically threatened the American people, saying that if we put too many barriers in front of trade, if we put too many taxes and tariffs in front of trade, we'll slow everything down, we'll lay people off, we'll lose jobs, we'll lose prosperity. I mean, sure, that's probably what's going to happen to them, not us though, right? In fact, I heard this explanation from Gates Stone Institute senior fellow Gordon Chang, saying that this was the perfect time for these tariffs, considering how these countries are leaning so much on us, particularly China. Here, check this out.
China is battling economic stagnation as it braces for Donald Trump to take office. Wall Street Journal writing, Xi's challenges are formidable. Millions of young Chinese struggle to find jobs. Homeowners have been watching their property values sink. Many migrant workers and even some government employees aren't getting paid. Beijing is also bracing for Donald Trump's imminent return to the White House, with the president-elect's promises of heavy tariffs likely to heap more stress on the Chinese economy. They mentioned tariffs there. How much realistically will Donald Trump's tariffs force China's hand to, quite frankly, Gordon, do what we want?
Those tariffs can force China to do what we want, Todd. And the reason is that Xi Jinping, the Chinese leader, his whole goal is to rescue the Chinese economy with foreign sales. The U.S. is the biggest export market for China and for any other country for that matter. So the Chinese leader has put his fate in our hands. And that means we've got enormous leverage if we choose to use it.
We better use it, because China is the biggest threat to our country, like we heard Carlos Jimenez and you say many a time.
So yeah, President Trump definitely knows what he's doing about these tariffs. Don't let mainstream media fool you otherwise, all right? I mean, it was the same mainstream media that tried telling us that there wasn't a problem at the border and that Democrats had it handled, right? Well, now the truth is finally coming out. According to a new House report, the Biden administration actually abused the use of the temporary protected status, a program implemented in the 1990s to grant protection from deportation and allow work permits for nationals living in the United States from countries deemed unsafe for them to be returned due to armed conflict or natural disasters. The first Trump administration actually moved to limit the number of migrants protected by the program. But then Biden happened and more than 1.4 million aliens from 16 different countries were granted TPS as of January. Just to break that down for you guys, the report found that the Biden-Harris administration added 1 million aliens in 4 years, after just 410,000 benefiting from TPS at the end of the first Trump administration. According to the House Judiciary Committee that reported this, what was intended by Congress to be a temporary status has become, over time, a permanent, automatically renewed designation, with some countries being designated for TPS for decades despite changed country conditions. They said that the Biden-Harris administration vastly expanded this de facto amnesty to hundreds of thousands of new aliens, many of whom are in the country illegally. And with the expansion of TPS came a great deal of fraud, potentially in the Biden administration's rush to prevent the Trump administration from being able to remove vast swaths of illegal aliens. The report says that it found multiple instances of aliens brought in claiming one nationality for parole and another for a grant of TPS, including 99 Afghans who later were granted TPS as nationals of Haiti. Can you believe this, guys? So now, according to DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, President Trump and Xi are returning TPS to its original status, temporary. In fact, they've already revoked the TPS status of more than 300,000 Venezuelan nationals. The Judiciary Committee report called it a critical first step in restoring integrity to the program, but it's just a first step. According to the report, far more work is needed to root out fraud and TPS designations that violate the statute and thus are no longer in the interest of the American people. They also want Congress to play a critical role, appropriate reforms to ensure such abuse can never again be inflicted on the country by a future open borders administration. So yeah, we're looking at you, Democrats. Now, of course, we also have our role to play here, guys. We have to make sure that we don't let this happen again. We won in November, so let's keep it going, right? So stay updated with the latest news from our channel. In fact, I got some recommended videos that are about to pop up for you in just a second at the end of this one. As always, appreciate you guys hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll see you next time.